Everyone. My name is Dominique, and today I'm here to talk about my solution towards improving employee engagement in your workplace. So on a scale of Stanley to Dwight, how engaged are you at the workplace? Would you consider yourself emotionally invested in your work, or do you feel that you are more driven by a sense of duty rather than your passion or personal interest? So there's a general consensus that there are typically three different types of employees. Those who are engaged, and these people are highly motivated and enthusiastic about their work. They push the organization forward by driving high performance and innovation. Then there are those who are not so engaged. These people lack a psychological attachment to their work and their company. They don't feel that their engagement needs are being met. And whilst they put in their time, they don't really invest their energy or passion into their work. And lastly, there's the actively disengaged people. These people are just simply unhappy to be at work, and they're resentful that their needs aren't being met and basically take it out on the business. So if your answer was something along the lines of, I go to work simply because I need to, and that's really all there is to it, according to a 2019 study by Gallup, you're actually in the majority cohort alongside approximately 71% of their participants, which is a pretty crazy statistic if you think about it. I did quickly check the figure for this year as well, and the number of engaged employees only slightly increased to about 17% in the past 3 years. And this still shows that there's a huge percentage of employees who are not being fully engaged, aligned, or fulfilled at their jobs. So I know it might be absolutely shocking to hear that most people aren't really obsessed with their jobs. So why should we even care about this? So I did the research, and the sentence that stood out most to me was the fact that 70% of employees won't think about leaving their jobs as long as they feel engaged with what they do. And I actually felt that this was echoed throughout the research that I did. And so these are just some of the reasons why you should care about whether your employees feel engaged or not. Some of the like what can it cause is increased productivity, increased employee commitment, improved collaboration. On the flip side, it can reduce and lower turnover, reduce employee stress, and reduce absenteeism. So with that in mind, my next step was to actually speak to some people about their experiences. I conducted some user interviews with 5 managers, and I picked managers because I felt that they were kind of in that sweet spot between having both managerial and employee insights. I also feel that director managers have a really large influence, if not the largest, on how an individual experience is within a company. At least in my own personal experience, even though the organization I might have worked for was an absolute nightmare, if my direct manager demonstrated really caring traits, or they focused on helping me grow and made me feel that my needs were being met, for me, it made a whole lot of difference. So basically, after speaking to all these people, there were 4 common themes or pain points that arose. 4 out of 5 mentioned understaffing and challenges from remote working. 3 out of 5 mentioned inadequate training and development as a problem, and 2 brought up, poor direct management relationship. So whilst those findings weren't too surprising, given the current climate, for me, the major takeaway after doing those interviews was my shift in focus from a recruitment perspective to employee retention. When I first went into these interviews, I kind of thought that managers would have like a good oversight over the recruitment process. But instead that I learned that many of their pain points, for example, the understaffing or remote working concerns, were actually related to external factors such as the pandemic or a general lack of skill set in the market. In fact, many of the people that I spoke to actually said that their internal recruitment processes seemed quite progressive, and they didn't really have much to talk about it or comment on it, at least the people that I spoke to. And so because I didn't receive much information about these processes, but I did hear a lot about the issues within the current work situation, I figured why not focus on what is within their locus of control, which is retaining and keeping their talent. So with this new objective in mind, this basically led me to my next question. First, how can we improve employee engagement so that basically more people are inclined to stay at their jobs? First, I reevaluated my findings from my user interviews, and with the consideration of addressing those previous pain points, I identified 4 pillars that I undoubtedly wanted to include in my solution. These related to communication, improving communication across the business, training and development for staff and managers, connection, and inclusion, which led me to my final product, which is an LMS management platform named Connect. And my objective was super simple, which was to create a user-friendly platform that focused on connecting managers with their direct team members. And the overall objective was to drive engagement. Yep. So this first page here is the Management Hub, which is Connect's main dashboard. And then starting off with one of the most simple yet critical functions to foster connection amongst employees is the calendar scheduling function. Here you can view important cultural dates, view employee birthdays, and of course schedule events as you normally would. I'm sure we've done this all many times. Just fill in the details and press schedule. You can also register for upcoming events that might pique your interest. And you can also view updates from around the business under recent news, and this aims to keep everyone informed through regular articles that are posted. A key section of the Management Hub is also this middle section here, which relates to training and development. And here you can have a broad overview of both your own training progress and the progress of your team members. Your main achievements are also listed here, as well as a week's top training performers. So, if you recognize a colleague there that you want to congratulate, there's a button right there where you can congratulate them from the list, and then you just select them. You can, put in a little message there and send. Basically, this is to encourage connection and recognition amongst peers. From here, we can also direct to the LMS Hub, which is a different section that's dedicated solely to training and development. And this was identified as a key focus towards improving employee engagement. This top right section here, there are actually various functions here, but the top right, you can view information about your team members. And so you can choose to view all, or you can view on an individual profile. Here, there are different tabs. See their training progress, see their assigned modules, their performance reviews, goals here where you can list them and tick them off as they go, and then feedback, when you conduct one-on-one interviews, you can make note. Here under assigned modules, for example, this one is due tomorrow, so you can choose, if they haven't done it yet, you can choose to send them a reminder and keep them on track with their training progress. You can also assign trainings to your team. This is a little library. For example, that middle section there was noted as a compulsory module by the business. So then you might decide to assign it to your entire team. This way, and just press submit. And of course, you can also check your own training for yourself. You might assign it to yourself, or you browse the library and then assign it to yourself, or it might be assigned to you by the business. And another way of training is to register for upcoming webinars by expert speakers, and you can easily register for them there. This bottom right section is share your knowledge section. It was actually an accumulation of ideas I got from my initial interviews. Basically, these are training methods that they kind of noted as things that they enjoyed the most. There's a mentoring program. You can volunteer to become a mentor. You can volunteer to lead a webinar if you feel like you've got an expert knowledge in some area, and a management forum where you can connect with other leaders from across the business. And that last portion was really relating to, cross-pollination across different business units, where you can foster collaboration across the business and, align goals from different parts of the organization. And lastly, that top right section is another idea that emerged from my user interviews. It was basically from the idea that we need transparency from executive leaders. It was a common notion that came up from the interviews that cultural change is really driven from a top-down approach, from people who can make impactful decisions through policymaking or strategic decisions. And so from here, you can view your ELT profiles, to become more familiar with them, see their main objectives, see what they've been working on, and also check their training progress as well, to keep them accountable, and see what they've what they've completed and what they've already done so far. So anyway, I've done that part, but I just also need to make sure that my potential users would not end up like this, basically. So I did some user testing as well with 5 different people, and overall I found that my feedback was actually quite positive. The main comments that were recurring was the fact that the platform was user-friendly, intuitive, and clean. Ultimately, I felt that my objective of creating an easy-to-use platform was achieved, and an element system that would actually be used and bring managers and their teams closer together. Kind of like this. Thank you very much.